Hey guys, this is my 2020 complete yard renovation with Fescue, Turf Type Tall Fescue in Northwest Arkansas. I started this approximately early August, probably around August 10th, with a 3-step kill and then a complete till and seed. This is the yard beforehand, so it's a corner lot with kind of a sweeping corner rather than a hard corner. So, tried to bring this yard back as much as I could, but as you can see, it was in pretty rough shape. Some of those areas just never could get them to, the soil was so dry and hard, just really never could get anything to grow. But overall, there's some areas that look pretty good. They were kind of green and everything. But really, if you look at the grass closely, you can see that it's pretty much garbage. There's a lot of fescue in there. There's some bluegrass, lots of bermuda, and frankly, just a ton of weeds. So I decided to blow it up and start over. So, a couple of good shots. This is probably actually the best part of the yard. This is the very front where the circle drive is, and this is where the healthiest grass was. But as you can see, it doesn't get very tall. It's just not the turf that I was looking for. So early August, I started the kill. I used just regular Roundup. I used the concentrated Roundup there. You see where I started the kill process. Used a couple of different types. That hasn't really started to die off yet. But the yard did, after 3 full cycles in about 3.5 weeks, the yard did finally die out. This is shortly after the 3rd spray. So if you take a good look, you can see that there's still a little bit of green in some areas. It takes a while to kill. What I would recommend is probably starting your kill maybe a little bit early if you plan on tilling and seeding right around Labor Day. I would probably start in very early August. Give yourself a full month there. You see some green is still just that yard won't die off as well as we'd like it to. But anyway, I did finally get it all killed off after 3. Waited till it was good and brown, and finally I did a little bit of spot spraying just to make sure that I had absolutely no green whatsoever. I'm just infiltrated with weeds, so I wanted to make sure I took care of all that. I think I've got a picture coming up where right before I tilled, and I used just a regular rear tine tiller to grind up this yard. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. I chose a tiller just because it's available. I've used one before. It was pretty easy. So once I got the grass all killed, then I cut it down. I cut it about 3 or 4 times, got it absolutely as low as I could, almost to the dirt. Here is a shot of where I mowed it all the way down to the dirt. You can see there's hardly any grass left. Really just took it down super duper close and got it ready for the till. Another thing I did is after I cut it, I did everything I could to get all the clippings off the grass so that when I started to till it, all I was tilling was dirt. So once I got all that kind of done and cleaned and got my hardscape ready, I got out my tiller and started to grind away. There we go, tilling away. It's about 5,000 square feet, and that took a couple of hours in a tank of gas. Then I ran over it with this tine rake, which this was a very, very useful thing. So I spent quite a bit of time with this, running back and forth and getting all the garbage out of the tine rake. Was a little bit time consuming, and I got a really rinky-dink tine rake, so I got, I think, at Home Depot along with some other items, and they have better ones, but I just chose to get this one because I probably won't ever use it again. You can use a leaf rake, and a garden rake, and I actually had a couple of friends help me a little bit with this. But what we tried to do is just clean off as much debris as we possibly could. We wanted a nice, just clean bed of soil, and we wanted it very, very flat. And although this didn't help us in getting it flat, it did kind of grind it up. The tines are stiff enough to where it'll dig down into the dirt and do a little bit of leveling for you. But ultimately, you're going to have to come back in after you till and clean all the debris out, and then begin to level your lawn as best as you can. We did a pretty good job. We ultimately came out with a product that was pretty flat, very, very soft. I tilled about 4 inches deep so that I didn't have to do anything with my irrigation system. And the results really, really turned out well, but that'll give you some ideas of how deep you should set your tiller, and then what you should expect as far as from a cleanup and everything. This is our kind of final product, if you will. It's not the best, but certainly it was ready to go. Now, this is after I have seeded, so you can see there's some tire tracks, as well as it's kind of not as fluffy as it was. So that's the good shot of the seed there. So I seeded 10 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So with a 5,000 square foot yard, or roughly thereabouts, I used a 50-pound bag of Turf Type Tall Fescue seed. And just so you know, it doesn't look like your whole yard is covered in seed. It's frankly, it looks pretty sparse, but it does come in nice and thick. That was the recommendation, which I would do. I would also use multiple passes. Don't try to cover it in one pass. Use multiple passes so that you really get a good spread of your seed. It took me about 6 or 7 days before I started to see any grass come up, but I did start to see grass come up, and it's kind of exciting to watch it. My neighbors were all very curious what the hell I was doing, and ultimately I think that this first year it looked pretty good. I'm really curious to see what I can do with it in the fall. I'll do an update video fairly quickly as soon as the snow melts and we get an opportunity to really look at the grass, and I'll talk about the chemicals that I'm using and everything else. So hope you enjoyed step one, and look forward to seeing you guys in the future.